Hello and welcome. This is Pro Trigger Golf. This is episode number 1, and today we're going to go over the golf grip, and then we're going to put on the Pro Trigger and get you ready for use. All of the demonstrations I'm going to be making here are going to be from the right-handed golfer's perspective. So let's get started. Take your left hand and open it, spread your fingers out, bend your fingers back, curl up the left index finger. We then want to take a look at the webbing that runs between the left thumb and the left index finger. And we're going to start moving our thumb until that webbing, you can see how it's got a little crease there, until that webbing becomes generally straight. And at that point, we're going to close the thumb up in that direction. We can now maintaining the relationship between this thumb and the hand, we can relax our hand, and you'll notice that this left index finger, the knuckle is in, and that we do have a little bit of a, the hand is scrunched a little bit. We've got a little bit of a pocket there in that hand. Once you've learned how to form the V, we form the V in that hand. In the left hand, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing in the right hand. We've now formed the V's in both of our hands. Okay. Once you form the V in this left hand, we're now going to place this hand on the club. We're going to place it across the base of these last 3 fingers, or just below the base of these last 3 fingers, in the little pads that are at the base of these last 3 fingers. We're going to place it right on that, and we're going to curl our left index finger around the underside. We're going to put the left heel on top of that golf grip. We're going to close up these last 3 fingers, not squeezing with the last fingers, just closing up very gently, and then we're going to squeeze the heel pad against these last 3 fingers. We should feel the tension down here in the underside of this left forearm. The purpose of the left hand is to be placed on there so that we can firmly hold the golf club, give it a tug, make sure it's not going anywhere, and also to be able to place the right hand on there properly. Before we place the right hand, though, we need to make a series of checks to make sure that we have this hand on there absolutely properly. The first check we want to make is we want to make sure that there is just a little bit of handle sticking out beneath the hand. We don't want the grip like this, where we've got more hand sticking out. You can even grip up a little if that's more comfortable, but we just don't want more hand sticking out at the bottom than we have handle, okay? The next check we're going to make is we're going to see that when the leading edge is straight up and down, not this way or this way, but we have that leading groove going straight up and down, that you're going to find 2 tendons here. If you have your hand like this, you'll feel the tension back here. If you let your hand do this, you'll feel the tug up here, and those tendons will disappear. We don't want that. We want this little angle here, and you'll feel these 2 tendons and the tension back there. There'll be a little dimple in between those 2 tendons, and we want that generally in line with the shaft. And if you have that, you're going to notice that your left thumb is over on the right side of the shaft. It'll be angled just slightly back in there to the left. Okay, and the last check we want to make is for the size of the grip. We want to make sure that we have the right size grip for our hand. We're going to look at this left index finger, and if this left index finger is just barely touching the heel pad of this left hand, we've got a good grip size there. If this left ring finger is digging in, we need a little bit bigger grip, and if there's a big gap there between this left ring finger, and this left heel pad, then we need a little bit smaller grips, okay? Now that we've got the left hand on there properly, we're going to place the right hand. And the purpose of placing the right hand is to position the trigger absolutely the same on the golf shaft or on the golf grip every single time. You say, what's the trigger? Well, when we form the V in this right hand, we're going to create a little perch right there. You see that little perch at the base of that right index finger, and it's not on the finger itself, it's just below the finger in that little pad just below there, and that's the trigger, and we want to position that on the golf club the same every single time. That is the connection point of the right hand to the club. Now, how we do that is we take these middle 2 fingers here, right there, you see those middle 2 fingers, and we're going to place these middle 2 fingers around the shaft and squeeze in those middle 2 fingers. Now, we don't want to squeeze this way in the palm of the hand. We want to form that V and just squeeze just very lightly in these middle 2 fingers, okay? We're going to place our pinky in between the gap that is formed between the left index finger and the left middle finger, and we're going to place that little pocket that is formed in the middle of our right hand comfortably over top of the left thumb. Okay, we're going to wrap our hands around like that so as to position that trigger on the golf club. If you've done this properly, you're going to feel a little bit of tension right up here. So when we grip like this with these two fingers, we feel the tension right up here on the top of this forearm. If you feel tension here, then you're gripping the club a little too deep in this right hand, and it's going to make, we don't want that. That's going to make things a little bit more difficult for you a little bit later down the road. So if you feel that tension there, then just go ahead and make sure you form your V again, and then just grip just very lightly out in these middle two fingers, and you'll feel the tension, a little bit of tension right up here, just very little, okay? Excellent. Now that we've got a little refresher there on the grip, now if you've got one of those training grips, the standard Golf Pride PGA training grips, you can use one of those as well. What we're learning there is just the standard, I guess we would call that the Hogan variant of the Harry Vardon grip. Now, later on in life, Hogan weakened his grip a little bit, but we're putting it on there, what we would call neutral, okay? So once we've learned how to grip the club, we're going to put these, we're going to put our Pro Trigger on. Take one of the tension straps, one of the tension bands, and we're going to just form a simple slip knot, just like that, okay? We're going to slide that down over the club. And we don't want to tighten it down just yet, because we do want to make sure that this tension is proper, okay? So what we want is, if we're just standing tall and letting this arm pretty much hang to the side there, we want this club to be generally parallel to the ground. I've used this quite a bit, so you know, I pretty much know where to put this. But if this club were hanging, I'll do it. If this club were hanging like this, well, we've got a little bit too much tension here, and we're going to need to move these tension bands. We're going to need to slide them down a little bit. And likewise, if the handles, if the head club head's hanging down a little bit like this, well, we're going to need to slide these tension bands out just a little bit to get that to where we're generally parallel to the ground. Once we have that, we're going to go ahead and just snug that down. Just give it a little tug like that, snug it down. And we want to notice that when the leading edge is straight up and down, that this that the knot is right up on top. We don't want that knot off the side because it will affect that club angle. We want it right up here on top, okay? Now that we've got that, we're going to loop the other band around the butt section of the club, and we're going to grip down over top of it with our left heel pad so that we are holding that on in between the left heel pad and the grip with our golf grip. Now, we don't want these bands underneath our fingers, just under this left heel pad, okay? There we go. We are in the Pro Trigger, and we're ready to start using this thing. So in the next video, come back, and I'm going to show you how this thing works and how it's going to have you hitting the best golf shots of your life. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions about that one, please leave them down in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer those as soon as I can. And we'll see you again in the next video, and we're going to start using this thing. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.